everyone, my name is Kristy, and this week on ReNEW'D by Kristy, we are going to be tackling this piece. Now, this piece was actually gifted to us. We had a gentleman come in and he had this cabinet on the back of his truck, and he's like, I have this cabinet. I know you ladies like to paint furniture and revitalize pieces. Do you want this piece? If not, I'm taking it to the dump. So we were like, heck yeah, drop it off. We will figure out something to do with it. So this is the piece. Now, already we have stripped most of the finish off the top. We wanted to see if we could strip the top to salvage the top so that we can restain that and keep that as wood, as opposed to the rest of the piece that we are going to paint. We decided that we're going to use our infamous Fusion Mineral paint in this gorgeous color called Liberty Blue. And again, if you hit the little triangle below, you can find links to these products both in Canada, the United States, and the UK. So there's actually retailers all over the world. You can go to fusionmineralpaint.com and find a retailer close to you, or click the link so that you can buy it on Amazon. So this product we're going to be painting, it is a really bright blue. So again, we want to stain the top, probably close to the color it's already in, and then paint it Liberty Blue. But on top of the Liberty Blue, can you see this? Believe it or not, this is that same color. Having said that, we put our black stain and finishing oil, we rub that on top to give it a very rich look. Look at how great that is going to look with that wood color. And the black stain and finishing oil is going to just stay inside these grooves, and we can't wait to see how rich this piece starts to turn out. Now, these aren't drawers, and these actually almost are like a paper, decorative paper put on top. So we have no problem painting over the rest of this. I would have tried to save the cupboard doors and use those naturally as a natural finish, but if you can tell, this is not even centered. Like the four mitered pieces here are not even centered. So I just find that looks silly. So we're just going to paint the rest of it, but keep the top. So to start, what we're going to do, we have Jackie here now. Everybody say hi, Jackie. Okay, we're going to remove these glass doors. I can give you that one. Get rid of the glass doors, and it does come, the gentleman brought them in and everything, 2 glass shelves. So we think this is going to make a really good liquor cabinet, is hopefully what it will be restored and used as. Obviously, whoever decides to purchase this cabinet, because it will be for sale at next time around, they can use it for whatever they want, but it's kind of like a buffet. It has this shelving, I guess brackets. So we're going to unscrew this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to label these as the bottom right, top right, same thing for the other side, just because they're probably fitting a specific way. So if you do want to take things apart like this, it's probably best if you do put a little bit of green painter's tape and label those pieces. Okay, so Jackie just finished taking that off. And I'm not sure if on the camera you can see this, but there's like this plastic, I don't know what you call, like covering? I don't know, like it's this shiny plastic stuff, and we're hoping we can remove that. See if we can kind of get into there. I did earlier, I thought I grabbed a little bit of it. Did you get, oh, look at Jackie. So that's just glued on there. Okay, so there are long wooden strips with more screws at the back that we have to remove. So what we're going to do, just so that you don't have to watch this part, we're going to pause the camera, we're going to remove those tack strips and see about taking the rest of this black stuff off. So basically wish us luck, and we'll see you in a few seconds. So we were able to easily remove that black plastic. They were like plastic sheets. So they had little wooden, basically brackets that held the shelves, and just along the back, trim pieces, which we're going to keep. And as you can tell, the mirror just came out too. So the mirror itself wasn't even glued in. It was literally held up by these little tack strips. So when we moved those out, we were able to pull the mirror out. It didn't break, so we don't have 7 years bad luck, thank goodness, because we want to put that mirror back in. So literally, it's just a big, empty, almost clean sort of cavity. So we quickly vacuumed it, but then we realized we really need to give that glue a really good sanding to make it nice and smooth for us to paint. So what we're going to do now, and we won't make you watch this, is we're just going to sand the inside down, vacuum it really well, and then we will be right back. So we'll see you in a second. Okay, so we're back for a second. What we wanted to show you is how Jackie's just using the very simple palm sander. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to flip this onto its side, and we're going to show you how we're going to attach one of those trim pieces to one of the sides. So just give us a moment while we flip this piece. So we're back, and we're going to show you how you can repair this chippy part of the boards so that you can paint it. And I just want to let you guys know here on YouTube, we're recording a secondary video for our Facebook page, since this is something that a lot of you could easily do but don't necessarily know how to do. So you might see me looking at both cameras. So if you notice here, this is again really chippy. So I don't know, Erica, if you can come in and kind of show them that. This is something that you may find on a lot of cabinets, gets a lot of chippiness, and it's really hard to fix. So you can try to peel off all the veneer, but then you don't know what you're left with underneath. Or your option is you glue the loose pieces down, wood fill it, sand it as smooth as you can get, and then paint the whole piece. Or what I'm going to show you is option 3, which is definitely the easiest option, is you can go and get a 1/4 inch piece of plywood cut to size, which we've done, that you can actually just attach to the bottom or to the side right like this, that will hide all of that. And this is such an easy fix for painting, since we're painting it anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a little bit of wood glue. For those of you wondering, I am just using LAKEY wood glue. Now this is actually one that is called Express Quick Dry because it does dry in 10 minutes, and it actually does dry pretty quickly. And I am going to attach that here. Home Depot was actually awesome. I got this piece of wood at Home Depot, and like I said, I paid maybe like $6 for this piece, and we're just going to kind of line it up with the bottom, and I'm just going to have Jackie hold that because we are going to nail it as well. So I have my pneumatic nailer here. Okay, we just wanted to tack in 4 little nails. We'll have to hammer those in a little bit, basically to hold that. And then we're just going to use Elmer's Pro Bond natural color. This is paintable, stainable wood filler. We'll fill in a little bit of these grooves to make them look a little bit nicer. And this is now ready to paint, easily fixed. For this cabinet, the other side was just as bad. So we're going to do the same thing. We have a second board, and we'll be right back. So you saw us nail that in. So we've got that here. Now I've got my wood filler. And what I'm going to do is just apply a bead of that in this groove. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Now there's way extra, more than you need, but we're going to get rid of that with my finger. That's what I'm going to put that on there. And now I'm just going to smush that in to that area with my finger to try to get it down. See how I'm just kind of pushing that into that little groove there? And there might be a little bit of excess, but like I said, when it dries, we'll give it a nice sanding. And if we have to do another coat, we will. But that's essentially all we're doing, is we're just adding a little bit of this wood filler to those 2 sides. This will dry, we'll give it a good sanding, and we'll be back. We're going to continue to strip the top and work on that first. So we'll see you in a few seconds. Okay, so what we've done so far, just as a little bit of a recap, is we removed the glass doors, the shelves, we took the black, again, it was like a plastic sort of thing, off, moved the mirror at the back, we sanded the inside, and we have vacuumed everything. Then we have cleaned the entire outside, and it is so dry that we didn't really have to sand the outside. We did repair with the little attached boards that you just saw on both sides, and we have finished stripping the top. We did that with a chemical stripper that I just want to say is called Easy Strip. It is available at Home Depot. We'll put a link below just so you can find this. It's an eco-friendly furniture stripper, and it's a paint remover. We love this. This actually has been working so great, and the fact that it has low VOCs and it actually smells almost sweet, which is kind of ironic, but 2 coats is all it took for us to remove that layer, because there was quite a thick layer, I guess, of almost like a polyurethane or varnish on top of this. And we're going to actually just stain the top in a clear stain, so we are not actually going to be tinting it in any way. I am working with our stain and finishing oil made by Fusion, and again, this is in the natural finish, so we're just going to apply that. Now, I usually use a foam brush, but one that's a little bit bigger than this. However, I don't have one of those, so I'm using a smaller one, and this is super easy to do. And this product is a stain and finishing oil in one. So when you are prepping a surface to stain, to keep the wood grain open, you don't want to sand it with anything finer than like a 180 grit. So you want to use a 150 to a 180 grit to open up all of the wood grain. Don't go using 320 or 500 or anything that you would call a polishing or a finishing sandpaper, because that closes the wood grain down. And will stain still stick to that? Yes, but it will not penetrate as far. So you want to not use too fine of a sandpaper. That is a tip that I learned from a wood refinishing expert, and it's definitely one we use all the time. And so definitely did that. So we've used that, and then we just clean the entire surface with mineral spirits. So that just, again, you don't want to use water to clean it off when you're using an oil-based product, but if you decide to use a water-based stain, you can wipe all of the dust from sanding off with a damp rag. So again, mineral spirits if you're using oil, or water if you're using a water-based stain. So I love the oil, and this is again a finishing oil in one, so I don't have to do anything on top of it, it's built in. And I'm just going to start down here, and I am just going to brush, and you will start to see the beauty of this wood. One of the reasons I like the foam brush as well is I can get really good control right tight to the edges. I'm not sure if you can see this on the camera very well, but quite the difference from the sanded wood to the stained wood. You can see as I actually apply the stain and finishing oil, the beauty of the variations in the wood grain just come out, which is why we wanted to do this in a natural. Now we could have done it in a, say, a cappuccino color that would have added a little bit more brown. We could have done it in a golden pine. You could have done this in many different colors. But again, just because this wood is so beautiful with all of the variations in tones, I just wanted to showcase that by putting the natural stain and finishing oil on. So what we do is we brush this on. We're going to let it sit for probably 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will start to wipe off the excess. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry for maybe, like I said, 10-15 minutes, and then I'm going to wipe the excess off, and I will be right back. So just finished doing the whole thing, as you saw. Waited 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes for this to sit, and I just took some of the blue shop cloths. These are like those really thick paper towels that you can get. And I'm just going to wipe this down. I do want to try not getting really any oil on the other surfaces though, because we are painting them, and we are painting it in our Fusion mineral paint, which is an acrylic base, but it's also a water-based paint. And as you know, water doesn't want to stick over oil. And there you have it. So we're going to let this dry a little bit more, and then when we come back, we're going to start painting the base. So we're back. We have stained the top of this. We did that a couple of days ago. We have let it dry just a little bit. It's still drying a bit. We added actually an additional coat of hemp oil on top because we noticed that this was just so dry, and that's what you're seeing drying a little bit. But you'll get a good idea of this when we flip it around. This is the side with the trim that we added to the bottom to hide that chipping veneer piece, and we are going to start painting it today. Now we are doing a really cool technique with this piece where we're going to paint the entire thing, not the top, in Liberty Blue, which again is a Fusion mineral paint product. Love this because it's so durable and it also has a built-in top coat. But then to add some character, we are putting our black stain and finishing oil on top, which is going to have it so that it goes from this bright blue to almost more of a navy blue, but with a lot of details. So we're going to start, first of all, just applying the paint. So I've added a little bit of the Liberty Blue to this paint tray with a microfiber roller. I recommend microfiber rollers instead of high density foam rollers. I find you just get better coverage and you don't get any of those little ridges on the ends from the foam roller. Plus, foam rollers absorb so much product that a lot of times you feel like you almost wasted a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 2-inch angled fusion brush to get in all of the corners and underneath, and then I'm going to roll in between. So when you're using a color like Liberty Blue, one that is like what we consider a primary color that's heavily pigmented, you will always need to do at least 2 coats. With most of the fusion paint products, you can get away with 1 coat coverage in a lot of cases, but with the heavily pigmented ones, we find that you see through, it's like almost seeing like brush strokes, but it's not brush strokes, and you might get an idea of that when I'm finished this coat. Now for added durability, I almost always add at least 2 coats of paint, even if I do get 1 coat coverage. So I'm just adding a lot of paint to my roller. You do want to liberally apply it. Just like adding paint to a paintbrush, you want to let the paintbrush or the roller do its job. So you can see it's super easy to apply the paint. What's really hard is squatting down like that to do it, just so you know. I know if you have one of those little seat things that are on wheels, it definitely makes it a lot easier. But you can go and do your edges like this as well with a roller. It makes it super easy. I'm just going to stop the video here for a second, roll this around, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we just flipped this around, ready to do this part. Now, I'm hand doing this, so you could do that too. If you're not confident going with your hand freestyle close to the edge, you can of course tape that off a little bit. So if you are not confident doing it by hand like that, the best tape, and we'll put a link in the drop down menu below, is the yellow frog tape. We think this is the best for when it comes to taping. You'll find there's a huge difference between almost like dollar store painter's tape versus good quality tape, and then specifically the yellow frog tape is something we highly recommend. So it comes in these little containers like that. So again, there's a link in the description below. The other thing is, if I do get a little bit paint on that edge, which I haven't yet, I can right away wipe it down. It's another reason why we decided to do the stain first and the paint second. So we're also going to be painting the entire inside of this cavity too. So this is going to take a little bit. It doesn't take too much time. I'm not sure if you're going to want to stay here and watch me do all of this. So I'm just going to continue to paint away, and I will be back shortly. One of the things you want to check is that when the door is shut, which I'm just going to close right now, how much of this edge can you see? So as you can see here, you can see a little bit of that edge. Same thing on this side here. So we've already taken the hardware off. So I'll just put something like a screwdriver through so I can open the door. And what I'm going to do is I could tape off and just do that little edge. Or in this case, there's actually a definite divide there. I could paint that whole inside, and that's what we're going to do. So that when the door is closed, you're not going to see any of that. And I also think it's a really nice professional finish when you don't have it just kind of like sloppy. And there's a lot of people you may find that will just keep the door closed, do what they can on the outside, and whatever it looks like on the inside it looks like. That's to each their own. If you're doing this to sell to somebody, you may want to definitely take your time. If it's for yourself, it's entirely up to your personality. The other thing, and again, we're going to bring the camera here, is there's this really tight edge along this curve here. With that huge brush, that would be really difficult to get, not impossible. So I'm just taking a little artist brush, and again, I'm trying to do that. It's a little awkward with the camera angle, but I'm going to be able to go in there a lot tighter and a lot more controlled with a small artist brush. And then we have this groove, or these two tracks along the bottom. Because this has glass doors to it, if we get too much paint in there, you're definitely going to notice that the doors aren't going to slide. So we can either use a brush or a roller, but you want that to be fairly dry so that when you go like this, you're getting that edge, but you're not getting any paint down in that track. You see how I'm doing that? Because I don't want any paint, if at all possible, in that track. It will just make those doors sticky and hard to slide. And they're glass doors, so it's not like I can add wax or soap to those. So we literally don't put a lot of paint on our brush and just try to get that top edge as much as possible. So we're going to keep painting away and we'll be right back. We have just put on one coat of Liberty Blue. We did that this morning, so this has probably been drying for 4 to 5 hours now, and it's time to do the second coat. So as you can see, the first coat gave it pretty good coverage, but again, like I mentioned, with the heavily pigmented primary colors, a lot of times you can see through a little bit to the substrate, so we're going to do a second coat. We're just going to go and repeat the very first step again of painting everything. And you can see how with the second coat, we are getting way better coverage. Any of the little translucent areas in between are definitely being covered at this second coat. I'm going to finish painting up the second coat on all of this, and then we will be right back. Okay, so we are back. We have finished putting 2 coats of our Liberty Blue Fusion Mineral Paint on the base. We let it dry. This has actually been drying for a couple of days now. And now what we're going to do is add some of Fusion's black stain and finishing oil. So it's actually called Ebony, also known as black. So we add this on top for the look because it's going to dull down the brightness of the blue, and it's also going to give it a little bit more dimension. This is a great way to do that. Plus, by adding the oil on top, you're getting added durability. So we're going to show you how easy this is. I'm just using an inexpensive chip brush, dipping this into my stain and finishing oil, and brushing it on top of the paint. Now, what is not important is that this is perfect because we are going to be rubbing it off anyway. But what I do want to do is get it inside all of the little crevices, like the nooks and crannies and crevices of the piece. So I'm going to go all the way down the side here because there's a lot of detail that I'm not sure if you can see on the camera. So do you see how I'm getting all of this black stain and finishing oil in all of the little crevices inside this little detailing here? There's a lot of detail on the bottom as well. So I want to get that in there and in all of these grooves here. So this is pretty quick to apply. And then on the flat surface, I just want to have that fairly evenly covered. But again, actually I don't even have to say evenly. I just want to have enough on there so when I wipe it off, it has enough on the rag to cover it. So do you see how sort of sloppy that looks? That's all you need to do. I'm going to take some of these blue shop cloths. They work great for this. And now what I'm going to do is just remove the excess. And that is going to give it, deepen that blue, give it a little bit of shine, but also help with adding more character and dimension to the piece. This is before the brightness of the Liberty Blue, and then after when we added the black stain and finishing oil on top. So we're going to continue doing that and we'll show you the after, so we'll be back soon. So this is the after. We've moved this out onto our showroom floor here at Next Time Around. I have to say I am very thrilled with the end result. It is quite the transformation. So I'm so excited that we were able to restore the top of this so that you can see the beauty of the wood. Actually, I'll have Erica come in and zoom in on that just so that you can see just how pretty, and if you can feel this, it's so smooth. So again, with the waterfall top, and then the bottom, if you can recall, did have 2 sliding glass doors. Now we put those glass doors in and notice that the little hardware was silver where the original hardware out here was gold. And we might either spray those silver, or actually we kind of like it without the sliding glass doors. So as careful as we were not to get paint into that track so that those doors would slide, we probably are going to deliberately paint inside there because it looks nice open. So we've got both the inside of the doors, there's shelves in there. Again, we just did that outside edge. We didn't paint the inside and the side. So you can see this is where we added that extra piece of trim at the bottom. So once this is painted, you would not even realize that that was not an original part to this overall piece. So I hope you enjoyed this journey with us. As always, we hope that it inspires you to pick up a paintbrush, grab a piece of furniture, and restore it. Because this is literally a trash to treasure piece, because this was on its way to the junkyard when that gentleman dropped it off to us, and we are so glad that we were able to breathe new life into it, and it will be able to withstand many, many more years of use. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.